Yo, what is good, everybody? Welcome back to episode 16 of the Fast Break Podcast. We are super pumped to record this episode because we are less than 48 hours till the NBA season starts. It is currently Sunday night. When you're watching this, the season is very close to starting or has already started. And this is our first regular season together, so we're super pumped. We are going to start with the topic of Zion Williamson, who, if you didn't know, is missing, I believe, 2 months. It could be up to with a foot injury. First of all, what do we think of this in terms of his progress as a player, and how does it affect the Pelicans, who are already going to be struggling to be a playoff team?
Well, so I think maybe to preface this, we just need to agree that Zion Williamson has been arguably, I mean, pretty much a consensus top three most dominant guy up
Yes.
there with, Joel Embiid and Giannis. In my opinion, this doesn't set them back too far. I know Zion's had a lot of injury concerns already in his pretty premature career, but I think that based off what we've seen from him coming off an injury where he had apparently learned how to rewalk, what we saw from him last year was historic. We can get into the
Mhm.
numbers after you say something because I know you have some stuff to say about it, but like this was a historic year that he had last year. Sophomore season, his efficiency matched the numbers of Shaq. In fact, when I looked it up, he had a better rim field goal percentage than sophomore Shaq and better efficiency, similar PER. It's absolutely insane. Not to mention, he is one of two people over the past 30 years, I believe, to average over 20 plus points in the paint. That's him and Shaquille O'Neal. That is very elite
Mhm.
company to be in. And by the way, this was prime Shaq averaging 20 points in the paint compared to sophomore Zion coming off on apparent, pretty serious injury.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't really know what to think about it.
In my opinion, I think it affects the Pelicans way more than it affects Zion personally, because obviously Zion is an elite player. This is his third year. He's going to be fine. Injuries to me are a big concern for Zion, but he is a big guy. He takes a lot of hits. For the Pelicans, though, I'm struggling to see what they're going to move forward with. I know they have Brandon Ingram, but other than that, Zion is really the only guy that I think's that guy on the Pelicans. They were already struggling to have a first year coach in Willie Green, and overall, I think it sets them back a lot farther than they would like. But I think Zion's going to be fine, and when he comes back, he'll ball out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I definitely think that one thing, if we're talking more on the Pelicans now, yeah, there is a lot on the shoulders of this new head coach. I think Stan Van Gundy was absolutely abhorrent with how he used his assets on the level of a guy like Terry Stotts. Just did not really know how to use his tools. They lost a guy like Lonzo, which was really
Mhm.
a huge loss for them. I mean, now their point guard rotation is just not very good. Brandon Ingram will probably be expected to handle a lot of the load, and I think it's going to be a really hard. They're going to have a really hard time maintaining Zion because he has made it kind of known in the past, or at least his family has, I believe, that they
Yes.
wanted him out of New Orleans.
Yeah.
And maybe for good reason. I mean, they don't look like a team with really much potential. I don't know. I'm not really feeling too good about them right now.
Yeah, hopefully, they Brandon Ingram can step up and get the load. Maybe Nikhil Alexander Walker can take a step forward. I know some people are high on him. Maybe I'm not as high as others, but it'll be interesting for the Pelicans. They're not as fun to watch without Zion. But we are going to go into this is the opening week. There's so many big games, and we have each picked three that we are super pumped to watch. We're going to explain why. Luca, who do you want to start?
Um, I think we can go like maybe alternating the games if you
Okay.
want. I did one thing. Maybe you put the Celtics game. I kind of shied away because obviously we're both Celtics fans.
I did too. Yeah, of course. I'm gonna be happy to watch the Celtics play the Rockets. No one else is.
Right.
But so I didn't include any Celtics, but I'm gonna be super pumped.
Agreed. I think so. My first game that I really want to watch is the Memphis versus Cavs game. Obviously, for kind of two reasons now. The main reason is I've been kind of a big Ja Morant skeptic. I
Yes.
do like him a lot, but I really have not seen enough to really consider him a top 10 point guard yet. I know a lot of people do. The playmaking game is elite. However, he needs to evolve as a scorer. We haven't seen that yet. We've gone over this in past videos. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I would really like to see how he performs against two young, up and coming, and already arguably premier interior defenders in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. I want to see how he does. I want to see if he's sort of starting to shift his game away from super paint orientated to like maybe he takes a mid range here and there. I really want to see what
Mhm.
he does. I want to see how this Grizzly team works. And that's really why I'm really curious. Also, I just want to see how the backcourt of Sexton and Garland works. Because I mean, if you ask me, I think they need to get Sexton out of there, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm going to add on to that before I go to my first game. First of all, I'm very interested to see the new look Grizzlies because they did lose Valanciunas. Zaire Williams, obviously, again, not to beat a dead horse. We're not the biggest Zaire Williams fan. And I think this is the year for the Cavs backcourt. They're obviously not expected to be very competitive, but they need to show something that they can just show some progression. Because if not, I think they're going to have to pick their choice between Garland and Sexton. And if it was me, maybe it's a bold opinion. I would move Sexton and I would keep Darius Garland for the future. How do you feel about that?
I completely agree with you. I think that we both kind of agree, or at least I think we do agree that Sexton kind of ball dominant as a scorer, not terrible, but definitely not a guy you want. And he seems like he's kind of caused a little bit of locker room problems in the past. And Garland just seems to be a really improving scorer, doesn't handle the ball as selfishly, I would say, and clearly just a better creator on the floor, better floor general. And that's what they need.
Okay, that was your number one first game out of 3. Mine is this on Thursday, the Hawks versus the Mavericks, and I picked this for a lot of reasons. First of all, Luka and Trey, they were traded. They're always going to be linked together. In my opinion, one of the most win-win trades we've seen in recent history. Both teams got their guy. Dallas, I'm interested to see because I just feel like they're running back the same team every year. I need to see some progression, and a lot of that's going to come with Kristaps Porzingis, who balled out against the Hornets. Now it is preseason. We have to take it with a grain of salt, or pinch of salt, I think. I don't know the expression. But Kristaps, we're going to need to see something from him because if not, they're going to have to move on from him. He's on a large contract, injury prone. And the Hawks with Nate McMillan, when he took over, we've talked about this when we started the podcast, our first couple episodes. We love Nate McMillan, and the depth that the Hawks have are amazing. They have guys like Lou Will, Reddish, Hunter, Herder. All those guys can be bench pieces. They also drafted Sharif Cooper and Jalen Johnson. So I'm very interested to see how the Hawks are going to move forward from last playoffs. I think they could be a top 4 seed.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that. I saw a post earlier regarding kind of the Celtics in this point, but it said that the Hawks and the Mavericks were both projected to have a higher shot at the championship than the Celtics. The Hawks, I can see. The Mavericks, this is my opinion really quick. I feel like they just have a lot of depth. I don't think that the Doncic Porzingis pairing is going to work. Don't get me wrong, Luka Doncic, just absolutely incredible. He's a wizard. I mean, it's just ridiculous what he does. He does a lot. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but he does a lot with very little around him. I feel like they have a lot of depth. I don't think that with the team they have right now that they are a better team than the Celtics. Maybe that's just me. I do like Luka a lot though. Either way, I agree with you on that. I think that will be a very good game. The second game that I'm looking for is Indiana versus Charlotte. Now, the reason is because I've become a real big fan of the Charlotte Hornets. Both of these teams are guys who I think could be contending for the play-in. Don't know if they're a lock for the playoffs. I don't really think that they are. But 2 reasons. I really like the Hornets and I really like the Pacers. The Hornets because LaMelo Ball, one of my favorite players, of course. But I also like a guy like James Bouknight, who during the preseason, he averaged the most preseason points per game by any rookie, I believe, around 15. I believe that's correct. And I mean, he was really balling out. I really like what I saw from him. My analysis of him would be LaMelo without the playmaking. I really like the scoring game. And I like the Pacers too because I think people are underrating them a lot. TJ Warren is back. We're not going to be seeing Bubba Warren, but he is still very good. We know this. Karis LeVert coming back. Is Brogdon hurt or am I making that up?
No, he is hurt. He might play the first game. Is their first game the Hornets?
Yes.
Okay, so he might play, but he was doubtful for Friday's preseason game. It's preseason. I believe he is like 50-50 to play. He might not, but it's nothing too serious for Brogdon.
Yeah, well, either way, I mean, I think this is going to be a really interesting matchup. I want to see how the Pacers play defense because outside of Miles Turner, they've struggled in the past. And I want to see how the Hornets play without a really respectable starting center because that's where they got killed against the Mavericks. That's where they lost by 70 points because they didn't have a center.
Yeah, one guy, the Pacers, Chris Duarte, I'm super excited to see him. He's one of the older rookies, so he's pro ready. And if Brogdon's out, he could get a lot of minutes that he wouldn't get. My second, you've taken a lot of not the most intriguing games. I took the Bucks and the Nets. Now this is a game they're the best two teams in the East by, I would say, a pretty considerable margin.
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie Irving is not going to play in this, I believe, but even without Kyrie, the Nets could keep up with the Bucks. We saw that. If Kevin Durant's feet were smaller, they would have won. But Giannis Antetokounmpo, I don't know if it's a preseason overreaction. I want to get your opinion on this. He has looked amazing. His shot, I know at times we've seen his shot. He's a streaky shooter at times, but it looks really reformed lately. Like he's taken pull-up transition threes. We haven't really seen that from him, so I'm excited to see what we get from Giannis, who I think can have an MVP season this year. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, definitely going to be a game that I want to tune into. The Giannis shot, I've definitely seen it, definitely been improved. I think it's a step in the right direction. Still looks a little bit clunky. I saw the one transition three that he had. Definitely something that needs to be refined. However, it's looking scary. So
yeah,
if you're a Bucks fan, if you're a Giannis fan, I say the progression is looking nice. And lastly, the game that I had is the Pelicans versus Nuggets, more so because I really want to watch this Nuggets team play. I made a prediction that I think that they could be as high as the 2 seed. And a lot of people don't agree, though. That's the thing. And I'm curious because I know a lot of people are saying Jamal Murray's out. Who's going to bring like the playmaking presence? And I'm thinking that that's kind of a very easy answer is Nikola Jokic. I mean, that guy runs the floor like a guard. And when you have a guy like Michael Porter Jr., who you can throw outlet passes to, who can play with in transition, it's just becomes very, very easy, I feel like, for Nikola Jokic to have a comparable season to last year. I like him a lot. Guys like Aaron Gordon, who've kind of proved, I mean, he does have, the kind of cutting big man potential, or the cutting big man play style, rather. And he can also be a pretty good wing shooter at times. I really like this team a lot. I think Michael Porter Jr., 25 plus points per game season incoming.
All-star? The West is tough, though.
See, the thing is, I think if they can be a top 3 seed, I think that you have to give it to him, especially if he's going to be, averaging 20 plus points per game. I think you have to give it to him.
I was looking at your post at NBA Opinionated on Instagram, and Jeff Green is someone I want to bring up because like the Jeff Green pickup because, like you said in the post, Mike Malone doesn't want to play ball. I don't know. A lot of people have their own opinion on it. I don't think it's a right decision. You need to get a minute. But if you're not going to play him, Jeff Green's a guy that can give him backup big minutes, can shoot the ball, and I think complements Jokic. So I think that was a solid pickup.
Yeah, I agree. And I think he brings a lot of hustle too. This bench was an area where they struggled last year, mostly due to injuries, but they've got a lot of nice bench pieces now, and they're going to be running small a lot of the time, and it's going to be a really unorthodox play style because Jokic is not a typical center. Jeff Green, the undersized center, but he can play bigger than he really is. I like this team a lot. I think they have a lot of potential. High ceiling, low floor is what I would go with them.
Okay, that's fair. And this one is actually a discrete game. I said the Jazz and the Thunder is a game I'm looking forward to. First of all, Josh Giddey. If you look at our draft, I'm not a fan. I've completely changed, first of all. I've watched a lot of OKC preseason. I've loved what I see from him. Very crafty, overall a good playmaker, can handle the rock. His TikToks are amazing. We know this. But the Jazz, they were the 1 seed last year. They didn't get the finals, lost to the Clippers. But I think Quinn Snyder's building something there. The system, we've been over this. Gobert, the 3-and-D, Jordan Clarkson, if he can have another 6th man of the year. I think the Jazz are going to kill him, I'm being honest. But I think it's 2 interesting teams. And Shea's back for OKC, so I think they're going to be a little better than last year. Nothing crazy, but I'm excited to watch it.
Real quick on the Jazz before we move on to our next topic. I just want to say the Jazz are one of my favorite teams in the league for sure.
Gobert, we know this.
Of course. I feel like they've regressed slightly. They lost Georges Niang, which I feel like a lot of people don't understand. Georges Niang was a huge part of that team.
Yeah.
He did a lot for them. I mean, they had guys like Royce O'Neal, Boyan, Joe Ingles. Georges Niang was definitely one of those guys who you want to retain. The fact that they lost him to Philly, great pickup for Philly, terrible loss for Utah. Also losing Derek Favors. I mentioned this in that post as well. Dude, Derek Favors was probably...
Where is Derek Favors now?
Derek Favors is on the Thunder, so it's going to be a revenge game for
Derek Favors revenge game. Double.
That's how it's looking. But losing Derek Favors, in my opinion, hurts their depth so much. Hassan Whiteside, not a guy, in my opinion, who I'm a very big fan of. It's tough, man. I'm really hoping for the best for them. hoping that guys like Jordan Clarkson and Donovan Mitchell won't
Mhm.
force Rudy Gobert to play 1v3 defense anymore. We saw that in the Clippers series. I'm really hoping that they can pull it all together. They can play as a team, as one unit. And I think that they could maybe have a similar trajectory to like the Phoenix Suns finals run
Okay.
last year. So I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping for the best for them, but it seems like they've kind of taken a step backwards in a sense.
Yeah. Valid points. We have two topics left. Ben Simmons. We've talked about this guy so much. We have to talk about him. It's just what we do. And we are Celtics fans, so we are going to get into Celtics preview. But we are going to save the best for last, which means we're not talking about Ben Simmons last. Ben Simmons is the next topic. He participated in Philadelphia 76ers practice. It looks like he's going to play for the Sixers. So after all this, he's in LA, all the shenanigans. He's going to play for Philly, and they're going to have to try to win with him. So how does Doc Rivers do this?
I mean, well, first of all, Ben Simmons preemptively sold his Philadelphia estate. I
Yeah.
saw this, so I don't know what he's doing.
He's running out. He's running out.
I have no idea what he's doing, man. He's just going nuts. In my opinion, this is a really bad look for Daryl Morey.
Yeah.
Because I think I've said this before. I don't know if I've said this here, but the Andre Drummond signing and keeping Ben Simmons is so painful. You already struggled. Daryl Morey, your team already struggled last year with Ben Simmons in the starting five. Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris couldn't really get into the paint as easily. We all know Ben Simmons didn't move off ball in a half-court set. Abominable. Andre Drummond does the same exact thing. I watched him all preseason. He had a great preseason. Good preseason. Numbers.
He does this. He fools you. If you look at the box score, he fools you.
Exactly. And he did put up good numbers. He played all right. He played better than how he was last year. Every single time. He's Ben Simmons minus the playmaking and adding on, I guess, some verticality and some lob threat ability. He did look pretty good, as a lob threat. I guess he got a couple nice looks, but that's not going to be every play, and that's just an unrealistic standard to adhere to. Yeah. Exactly, like it's not going to happen. You're not going to be getting lobs every single play. I just don't think it's going to work. You're going to have Ben Simmons coming off the floor, Andre Drummond coming in. It just realistically doesn't make sense. Not to mention, these guys were two dudes who were both bottom 15 in spacing rating last year. You're bringing two bottom 15 spacers onto this team. Daryl Morey, what are you thinking? I know this team has a lot of shooters, but you're also kind of knocking off the abilities of your two best scorers in Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris. You're taking away a whole dimension of the court that they excel in. I just don't understand it.
I saw this on Twitter, whatever. But they said, could this be a James Harden scenario where last year he did shenanigans? He was out partying with little baby, eating wings, whatever, wearing a fat suit. But he played a couple games with the Rockets, looked solid, and then got his move to Brooklyn. Is it a case where Ben Simmons is really just stuck with Philly because, first of all, Philly has unrealistic expectations of what they're going to get back?
I mean,
so is he stuck with them, or could there be a trade possible? Because we've talked about trade scenarios so much with Ben. We don't have to get into teams, but do you think they're stuck with him?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that stuck with them is the right phrasing here. I think that it's not, it's similar to the James Harden situation, but it's not, because James Harden is a guy who does so many great things. He does his job very well. Ben Simmons has really proven to take a regression as a young guy in his very formative, in his very young NBA career, in his formative years. He's taken a regression. So I think that Daryl Morey should be doing everything he can to own up to his mistakes, except the fact that he has absolutely plummeted Ben Simmons' trade value, and just suck it up and accept really any competent trade at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not taking Brogdon and Karis LeVert, then you're just out of your mind, Daryl. You're almost on the hot seat for me, so we'll see. Hopefully, well, actually, I hope the Sixers suck this year because I'm a Celtics fan.
Yeah.
But I think they'll be solid enough. Not as good as last year. They won't be the one, but it is what it is. Ben Simmons, you're gonna have to rent out Airbnbs in Philly unless you buy a new estate. We don't know what you're gonna do. And our last topic, we are Celtics fans, so let's just get into the Celtics season overview. Would you consider us hesitant fans? Like, do we jump? Like, are we very emotional about the Celtics?
I mean, I feel like you're probably more of a realistic fan, and then
Okay.
I'm kind of the because like it's hard for me to admit when a guy like Jason Tatum has a bad game, and it's just like I'm always looking for the positives, which
Yeah.
maybe isn't the best. I feel like I can be a realistic fan, but it's
Hmm.
hard because I mean, we both have emotional attachments, obviously, so it's always hard to be realistic. But I just want to ask. So we saw Jabari Parker get waived today. Um, Disappointing, but
Yeah.
it's not too big of a loss. I mean, let's be honest. Like Jabari Parker's cool, not really something I'm gonna be sweating. Is there any guy in particular? I saw we have a roster spot open and a two-way spot open. So two potential guys we could bring in. Is there anyone in particular? I'm thinking IT. I don't know if we're on the same wavelength. Anybody else though that's sitting in free agency right now?
IT, yeah. The classic Iman Shumpert pops up. I don't want Iman Shumpert, but I'm saying every year, when there's a free agent spot available, Iman Shumpert gets brought up. Mike James, I believe he's back in Europe, but I mean, Mike James could be a decent option. But I think the one we want to talk about is Isaiah Thomas.
Mhm.
We did him dirty. There's no denying it. Isaiah, we're sorry. We love you. First of all, is it realistic? And second of all, how ecstatic would you be if this happened?
It would be very exciting because he was one of my first players that I've ever seen play, or that I've really ever like become a fan of, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
But like in a realistic sense, he's kind of a guy that you bring in up by 20, down by 20, starters need
Yeah.
rest. And we already have a pretty, I mean, as compared to last year, we already have a pretty stacked guard room in terms of the point guard because he's not running
Yeah.
any two. So I don't really know. I would like to see it as a fan, but realistically, I mean, does it really work? I don't know.
No. Garrison Matthews, I believe he is on a two-way. I think he's going to be playing for the main Red Claws. I kind of wanted Garrison Matthew to make the roster. I don't know how about you felt about him. I thought a 3-and-D guy. Again, none of these guys to me really would have got minutes. I mean, Jabari Parker, he did get occasional minutes, but he was not too big of a impactor. So I think this roster spot, they're just going to fill it up with someone. Theo Pinson was another candidate. He shot
Mm.
horrible in preseason. Now he does get the bench hype, so I don't know if that weighs into consideration. But yeah, the options are limited. I think they're just going to go with a generic guy and fill out the roster.
Now, another Celtics question that I had for you is, so I'm really confused on how we're going to be using Inez Cantor this year. I'm not a
Oh
big
my
Inez Cantor fan. We're a team that really needs to be good in two regards mainly, and that's defense and spacing. He
he
doesn't
doesn't
really,
do
yeah,
either.
exactly. So
He's
how
a
are we going to use
horrendous
them?
defender. He first of all, he's worse than Tristan Thompson when Tristan Thompson was already back. He's like one of the worst defenders I've seen in my life. Doesn't do anything besides offensive rebound, which I mean, you can get an offensive rebound anywhere. I don't know where we're gonna use him because he's not getting minutes over Rob. He's not getting minutes over what other big men do we have?
Horford. We have
Horford,
Horford.
who has COVID. So I guess NS Cantor, if Al is not ready for the game against the Knicks, he could get a couple minutes. I would not want to see that. Allen, Robert levels above him. He's not going to get minutes over those guys. So I'm kind of struggling to see what his purpose is. He runs, his running form is horrendous. That's just thing I want to bring up. Honestly, I don't think he gets minutes over Grant Williams, which is saying something. I don't think he does.
We
Grant
also have
actually,
Bruno Fernando, which is
yeah,
another guy.
I would play Bruno over him.
Fair enough.
I'm struggling to see what the purpose was. When they signed him, they didn't have Bruno Fernando, I believe. So maybe they thought he was going to be the third string big man, but honestly, I don't even think he's that on this team.
That's fair. Another guy I'm curious about. So Josh Richardson, a guy
Okay.
who was looking like in Dallas, a pretty solid option. He was looking pretty good in my opinion. I really
Mhm.
liked him a lot. And also he had some pretty good stints. I remember watching him in Miami. I thought he really had
Yeah.
a lot of potential. Went to the Sixers, kind of didn't have the best year. Dallas played all right. What is his role in this team? Because I really don't. I don't know how to think of him. I really don't know what my opinion is on him quite just yet. What's his role in this team?
Well, the role on his team for Josh Richardson's a guy that can hustle and play defense because that's obviously what I saw in the preseason. Um, I'm not really too excited about him. I think if there's guys like Jalen who's not ready by Wednesday, he might get a start because of injuries or anything with COVID. Just a guy that I think is going to give solid bench minutes. He's not going to be the best, not going to be the worst. But like, would you play him over Romeo Langford at this point? Because Romeo has played amazing in the preseason. I've seen real strides from him. I mean, defensively, he's amazing, and he can get out in transition, score some nice buckets. His shot is very improved from when he came in the league. He was 20 in the 20s, and now he's shooting, I believe, league average, maybe even above. So Romeo Langford, like, are you playing him over Josh Richardson?
I would say yes, because I mean, he was our lottery pick a couple years ago.
Mhm.
We need to develop him. He was out a while with injury last year.
Yeah.
I almost forgot about him, to be honest with you. Yeah, I would probably play him over Josh Richardson, but I don't think realistically that's going to happen. Romeo Langford, in my opinion, I've said this before, maybe kind of an overestimate of his abilities, but I kind of compared him a little bit to Matisse Thybulle, with an offensive game, with a jumper, of course, and a little less dynamic on the defensive end, obviously. But I like him a lot. I think he's more of a hustle guy. He's kind of like that, Aaron Nesmith, Javonte Green type dude who's not really gonna he's never probably gonna drop like 10 plus on a consistent basis, but I would play him over Josh Richardson.
Pritchard and Nesmith, the two second-year guys. How excited are we about them?
Very excited, especially for Pritchard. I like Aaron Nesmith, but Pritchard's my guy. I mean, shooting from the logo, man, like night in and night out.
You see, he broke his nose though.
Yeah, he's going to be wearing a mask. I did see that. But
Pritch.
He did also drop, I believe, 90 in a Portland Pro AM game. That's pretty impressive. I mean, not everybody can do that. I think that's
Isaiah dropped 80. Isaiah did drop 80, so we need to bring him back.
That's true. We need the Pro AM stars. It's just how it needs to be.
Pritchard and IT.
Yeah, I'm very excited for them though. I think it should be good. Excited for the season. I think we're underrated for sure.
Okay. This is the last question of this episode. Where are the Celtics finishing when the year's said and done? First of all, this isn't an excuse because I know other fans don't hear it. We don't have good luck. Jaylen Brown and Al Horford already have COVID. We battled with a lot of COVID last year, most in the league. So obviously you can't predict injuries. You can't predict when someone's going to get the coronavirus. But where are the Boston Celtics going to be finishing this year with the new coach, Ime Udoka, and this new look for them?
I'm going to go ahead and say 5 seed, again, irrespective of all injuries and stuff like that, because you never know what happens. I never would have expected them to be 7 seed last year, but I'm going 5 seed.
I'm going to go 6. I think the Jays are both going to be all-stars. I think they're both going to shine. I think the Celtics are going to be a little better than – actually, I think to watch, they'll be a lot better. I think the record might not show it. Obviously, you're playing 82 instead of 72. I'm going to go with an actual – I'm going to say 46 and 36, 10 above. And I think they could maybe make some noise in the playoffs depending on how things go.
For sure.
Is that the end?
I believe so. I don't think we have anything else. To be honest with you, I'm really excited for the season to start. I mean, that's when I feel like
I can't wait.
Yeah, we're going to get more ideas when the season starts. We're kind of just thinking up stuff on the fly here a little bit. So we definitely, when the season starts, we'll have some more interesting storylines to cover. Yeah. Thank
you guys for watching. Leave suggestions in the comments because obviously we're going to come up with a lot more. We have more stuff to talk about, overreactions, guys that are going to be playing well, guys that won't be. But if you have anything you want us to talk about, let us know. Episode 16 done. Peace.
Good stuff.